Okay, good morning, everyone. We're going to kick off right at 10. It's a busy day ahead. Thank you all for joining us this Monday morning. My name is Ebba. I'm from EFAB, the European Forum of Farm Animal Breeders, and we're a partner of TDN. You'll also see me joined here by my colleagues in the chat and on screen as well. And today we'll be talking about breeding and reproductive performances in CCC farms. So very exciting two presentations ahead. So first, on this next slide, I'm just going to go over some house rules before we get started. On the agenda today, we first have Raffaella, who'll be talking about breeding in CCC systems. And then we have Anna, who'll be talking about reproductive performances of dairy cows with prolonged contact with their calves. So firstly, if you are not speaking, please mute yourself. You should all be automatically muted. But if you do notice that you're unmuted, please do mute yourself. Feel free to use the chat during both presentations. We'll be doing a Q&A afterwards. If you have any questions you think of during the presentations, please throw them in the chat. We'll be having a little Q&A session afterwards. Same thing afterwards in the Q&A. If you want to speak rather than just writing your questions, please raise your hand. And if you manage to do a little scroll on the screen right now, you can delete that as well. Please, thank you. And lastly, we do have the recording in progress at the moment. So if you don't want to be recorded, please just keep your camera off. And if you have any technical issues, you can write us in the chat and we'll be responsive. Or if you can't use the chat for any reason, you can always email us at projects@efab.info. So we'll have first Raffaella 20 minutes, then Anna for 20 minutes, and then the Q&A for 20 minutes. So without further ado, because we have a busy day, I am actually going to hand over to Raffaella already.
Thank you very much, Ebba. Welcome, everybody. I will share now my presentation and let me know I'm going to put in. Okay.
Perfect.
Can you
Looks
see?
good. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So when I had, first of all, I would like to thank you also my co-authors, Chiara Franzoni and Alessia, that are working. We are working together in this project where we are partners. And in reality, we are facilitator for this topic of which is cow-calf contact systems. And when I was asked to give this presentation, I have to say that as working in a breeding organization, it is very hard, especially in Italy, to think about cow-calf contact system. So I don't know if it's more correct breeding for cow-calf contact or breeding and cow-calf contact systems. But maybe we can discuss later also during the presentation. Where we are. So this is, I work at the NAFI-DJ, which is the National Association for Holstein Friesian, Brown Swiss and Jersey. And we are located in the Po Valley in the north of Italy. That's where the majority of cattle dairy cattle are bred. And just an overview, just also because we talk about cow-calf contact, but also we talk about how it is our system. So as I said, we have 3 herd books, and then we have almost 10,000 members, and then more than 1,000 cows registered, and a good number of young stock system. And then everything that you can see here is all the numbers that we process every year, in which is increasing. Okay, these are numbers from 2023, but more or less these are the numbers that we have to process. So this is a bit what we have been working in the data that we are working in. So now we talk about cow-calf contact, and then we go to state of the art. The state of the art is that the conventional system is artificial rearing. Calf are separated from dam immediately after birth, and calf are fed milk from bucket. And but by the way, there is an increase in public and scientific concern about welfare. And then lately there is this shift interest growing attention towards cow-calf contact, and the system is concern dam-calf contact, faster cow contact, and other hybrid system. But then, okay, we are talking about breeding. So what is a genetic progress? As has been taught to us when we were doing animal breeding, there is the phenotype, and then we divide, this is the question that we divide in genotype plus environment, plus the interaction between genotype and environment. And we know that the genetic progress is permanent. And genetic gains are cumulative and irreversible. Once favorable genes are incorporated into the population through selection, the improvement remains in future generations. So this is what we have, what we know. And then what we know when we do genetic progress, that we see everything like a normal distribution. And then what we are going to select are the animals that are in the right side of the curve, and then we create genetic progress. And we look at the change in the population mean. And this is what has been done, and still it is done when we talk about genetic progress. And a matter of fact, the genetic improvement of dairy cattle has achieved excellent performance level. So the success has been done thanks to the phenotype. Thanks to the pedigree historically, and then the genomic selection has been applied for the past 10 years. And these things has been working and works very well. But then let's go to the cow-calf contact system. As I said at the beginning, there is a growing interest from society and industry. Cows stay with dams longer, so there is an extended suckling period, and this extended suckling period needs to be checked, but as EFSA says, at least 24 hours. So the management varies by level of contact, promotes, and this is a system that promotes neutral behaviors. Research mainly focused so far, but maybe then Anna will tell us more, has been focused more in behavior and welfare. But then lately, there are studies that are looking more how to affect that the CCC system can affect metabolism, health, fertility, or both fertility, both on cows and calves. And I think that Anna will say more about this. CC system and breeding. So CC primarily concern calf rearing, and it's indirectly we can say that affects also breeding, because healthy, well-fed calves grow better. So these are heifers that can be used for future breeding. There is less stress because the animal in this way can build up better performance, reproductive performance. And as a matter of fact, we can say that the genetic selection is not changed, but the overall productivity of the herd can improve due to healthier animals, so due to healthier replacement. Sorry, So genetic progress versus management system. The genetic progress is aimed to high production, and then to create better breeding values. Primarily comes from selection based on breeding values, genomic selection, and control mating. And cow-calf contact doesn't change the genetics itself. It's just a management system that affect how the cows will grow and develop. So when we talk about breeding and cow-calf contact, we can say that the CCC alone doesn't create a faster genetic progress. But as I said already, it can support it indirectly, because we will have, it might have healthier animals and healthier replacement. So this is where it goes to create better genetic progress. So we can say, how can CCC can support genetic progress? So, and then I created this table. So we have the CCC effect and what can be the impact on genetics and therefore on breeding. So better early growth and health, we said. So in this case, we will have heifers that can reach puberty earlier. And maybe, again, Anna, maybe this you can answer this question, and then can enter the breeding program on schedule. So in this case, the genetic selection is fully expressed. It can there can be a reduction of stress. So that means lower disease incidence, fewer losses, more animals available to select from the top genetics. And then stronger, so we can have a stronger, a more resilient replacement. And this could maximize the potential of high genetic merit animals, especially for fertility and longevity. So there are challenges and consideration to be taken into account. So CCC may require, what is important, that may require more space, more labor, and careful monitoring. And this, I think, is one of the limiting factors that in a normal breeding system is happening, because this could limit the number of animals that in the nucleus of resources are if resources are tight. And I can tell you that this is one of the limitations that is happening here in Italy when we started to talk about CCC system, because of course the space can be a limitation. Milk production monitoring for selection purpose can be more complex in a CCC system, given that there is a period that the calves are suckling instead of being separated by the mother. Other consideration, progress achieved via all the progress that have been achieved via genomic selection and breeding values is still possible under cow-calf contact system. As I said, and this is a repetition, there is a careful management that needs to be taken in order to ensure the genetic progress, and then to ensure that the top genetic animals are properly measured. But at the same time, we can say that the CCC system supports productivity and fertility, which helps to realize more genetic potential. And then at the end, I thought, let's put a table with pros and cons of all the things that have been discussed. So if we talk about calf growth, the pros could be better weight gain due to natural suckling, improved immunity. But again, it requires more labor, manage cows and calves together. But the example is that, sorry, it's a bit complicated with so the calves will grow faster, heifers reach puberty early, ready for breeding sooner. Then we have stress and health. The pros will be reduced stress, fewer illness, but then again, higher risk of disease transmission from cow to calf. And this again needs more monitoring, so needs more some more labor in this case. But then the result will be stress-free calves, healthier replacement, fewer loss in breeding herd. Then we have the reproductive performance. So we will have better ovarian development and higher conception rate. And again, maybe Anna can answer this point. But again, potential for delayed weaning of next calf if the cow's recovery is low. And then again, the success will be heifer more fertile, fewer insemination needed, and then maybe improved lifetime productivity. Again, then we have the point that we had said, labor and management. The pros can be that the natural behavior reduces behavior problems, more natural weaning. But again, there is more workload. So for example, in situation where it's very hard to find the labor, how can be this faced? How can be this solved? And again, here what I brought is a farm may need more staff and facilities. But on the other hand, then there are stronger for breeding the cows. And then genetic productivity maintains genetic potential by supporting healthy growth, but there is no direct improvement in genetics. This is something that can be seen in the future, but maybe well-grown heifers express genetic potential fully, and maybe there will be better milk yield and longevity. So I think in every genetic program, there are always pros and cons, and then I think the farmer and the breeding company has to decide how to offer this system. As a breeding company, what we thought is that we have to offer to our members all the type of systems. So that's why we open to this type of situation. Then we arrive to what is this project. So we know that this project is about TransformDairyNet, is about CC contact, and then also to investigate how it is seen, the CC contact within farmers, among farmers, but also among breeding companies. And I have to thank to Anina Vogt from Tunen that she had shared with me some results of the survey that she did, the group did with for breeding company to know about what is a CC system. So one of the first question that I've seen, I'm not going to report all the survey, but there are some interesting positions. In one position was the familiarity with levels of CCC. And then as you can see from, we had 38 breeding company replying. So it's not a bit. And then the question on familiarity, you can see that most of the people had an hard idea of what is a CCC system. And then on average, there are some that are very familiar on that. So this is the first figure that we can see. Then there was also another question that it found me that is interesting. How many are including a maternal effect within the breeding value in addition to calvinism? So you can see that 65% are not including the maternal quality within the breeding value. I can say that as an Italian Association, we had when we started to publish the Calvinese index, we have two Calvinese. There is the direct Calvinese index, but there is also the maternal effect. So we do take care of the maternal effect also in a normal breeding system. And we also included in our breeding goal. So that's important that this is something, even in a normal breeding system, then the maternal effect is taken into consideration within the Calvinese. And then again, as we had seen before, then one of the questions that has been taken is the key challenges identified. And then, okay, the key challenges have been the data collection and recording, the milk performance and production, environmental management variability, and resources and data limitations. And then if we go to look at the different specific challenges, when we talk about data collection and recording, there is a lack of standardized large-scale recording system for maternal behavior. There is an uncertainty about which data are collected, how and by whom, no phenotypic data available. And then there is also an insufficient data recording. That is what came out from this question. Then in milk performance and production, milk yield and composition, hard to assess due to calf access. interference with milk performance recording systems, and then daughters do not subject to routine production checks. So this is something that came out, and then also variability in CC systems, duration of cow-calf contact on mother, foster. So these are other problems that came out. And then expectation of, when we talk about resources and data limitations, there is the expectation that there will be insufficient data to set up an additional breeding system. So, and the other important thing that came out is that the key aspect that has been identified, there will be to identify new traits. So CC farms may require breeding values tailored to maternal behavior, calf nursing ability, and other calf interaction traits. Fertility, high fertility sires help ensure smooth reproductive performance in systems where cow-calf bonding and natural suckling extended postpartum intervals. Calvinese, maybe this will minimize the intervention of a veterinary, so this could be important. Milk production, farms practicing CCC may prioritize modern milk yield to balance calf consumption. Maternal behavior, sires with daughters showing good maternal instinct improve calf survival and easy of management in CCC setups. And then teat size and placement, that's important to select for optimal teat placement and teat site support efficient for suckling. But this is something that I can say we are also doing in terms of normal breeding system, that it's important to have a good teat size and a good teat placement for whatever use, I would say. And then other questions is additional service challenges, so that like performance testing, that would be difficult to obtain reliable cow performance data, milk yield and components affected by calf access, and assessing other exterior and conformation is harder. Breeding value system limitation. Again, there is a existing breeding value, a system calibrated for high milk production may not fit CCC system. This is the concern of the breeding company. And then adapting values for CCC specific production management is challenging. And again, maybe the most important, market and service demand. Maybe there will be a lower expected demand for semen and breeding service for CCC. And then this could reduce the economic incentives, because you have to think that for the farmer invest a lot, so then they would like to have a big return. So a bit, this is a view of what could happen with a CCC system. I have to say that while I was preparing the presentation, I've seen that they are starting other projects in other countries, also thinking on a CC system. So I think it's important that the breeding company starts to think again, as I said at the beginning, I start to think on which type of service could be given to farmers that want to go in that direction. And then together we have to start to think about, as being come out also by this survey, about a type of breeding values that could help to select in this direction. Having said that, I would like to thank you for this opportunity, also to look deeper in this concern, and for every information that you want about the project, you could go to our website, and then I'm here for any other question. Thank you.
Thank you, Raffaella. That was really great. I see we start to have some questions already in the chat. Please keep them coming. We'll cover them during the Q&A afterwards.
Yeah.
Super interesting to see the pros and cons of CCC and the results from the survey identified for the practical considerations of CCC as well. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to Anna, because we have, again, a tight schedule today.
Okay, thank you. I'll see if I can share. So, see if everything works.
Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah, and you can hear me?
Yes.
Good. Okay, thank you. So thank you very much, Raffaella, for the presentation. It's super interesting to hear about the genetic and breeding, and of course to have breeding and genetics, you need to have get the cows pregnant, and the fertility needs to be working on the farms. So that is the topic of my presentation today. It's the reproductive performance of dairy cows kept by their calves. And unfortunately, as you said, you were really interested in the heifers, but this presentation focuses on the dairy cows today. We have other people in the group, a PhD student, Claire Wagner, who works with the heifers, so the results are coming, but today it's the focus of the cows. I want to start off with a question to you, because this is part of my my postdoc project. Previously, during my PhD, I worked with extended lactations and extended calving intervals. So I would like to make a connection between these two topics. So I want to ask the audience, if you are a dairy farmer or if you're maybe an advisor, what you see as optimal voluntary waiting period before first insemination on your farms. So there should be some kind of pop-up Zoom question now, make it possible for you to answer. And I will try to connect this with the practical implications in the end of this presentation. So I'll connect the two topics in the end. Oh, no, okay, this is the wrong question, I think. Yeah, here we are. Yeah, perfect. Great. So what do you see as an optimal voluntary waiting period before first insemination? I just put some numbers. It's not important exactly, but just to get an understanding approximately what you would see as practical, both for the primiparous cows and also for the multiparous cows. Okay, great. I see answers coming in. Super interesting. I'll give a few more seconds. And then maybe is it possible to share the results so everybody can see? How does that work? Dela. Okay, can you see the results? How does it work? But I can read it up if I'm not sure if you see them, but it seems like most want to wait at least 50 days before starting to inseminate. A few people like to start early, and some want to wait also longer for the primiparous cows, and then for the multiparous cows, even more people want to wait at least 50 days. So that's a little bit more complicated. But not many want to wait at 120 days before first insemination in the multiparous cows. So thank you very much. And I'll come back to this in the end. Thank you. Okay, then I close this. So now to our study. So our group works in Sweden in SLU, which is in Uppsala, a bit north of Stockholm. And the study was performed here in SLU Lövstad Dairy Research Herd, which you can see in the flight photo. And here is the dairy barn with the dairy cows and the pastures adjacent. We also have a pig farm and biogas plant and poultry farm on there. But today, of course, it's going to be about the cows. So on the farm, there are 275 cows, of which 40 are dry. There are two main breeds, the Swedish Red and the Swedish Holstein, and this is the two main breeds in Sweden today as well, mirroring what it looks like in Sweden. The average yearly yield on the farm is 11,500 kilos, so it's quite a high producing herd. We have an automatic milking system with 4 AMS robots. The cows are grazing 3 months in the summer, which is Swedish law. And we use spontaneous estrus, so we don't have estrus synchronization, which is used in several other parts of the of Europe and world. So this is the herd. And to the project, it's been ongoing since 2019, the CCC project with cow and calf together. And up to now, we have data from 7 batches with different, have different research setup and study focus. So, but in common for all the batches is that the contact duration has been between 3 and 6 months, so quite long. The batches have had with or without pasture access, different weaning methods, and it's also been both cow and calf-driven batches. And here is an example of a cow-driven system. So the white area, and this is a sketch by Claire Wagner. The white areas is where only the cows can access. The green is where it is the contact area where cows and calves can enter, and the gray is the calf creep where only the calves can enter. So here is it's the cows that can select to go to see their calves. But in another batch, there was the calf-driven system. So here the green areas when both cows and calves can enter. The gray is the calf creep, only calves. And it's only the milking robot that the calves cannot reach. So, but then to the background. So there's been few recent studies of how prolonged cow-calf contact affects fertility. There have been previous studies from the 80s and 90s. They've seen that first estrus was delayed. This is a study on foster cows. Another study found no differences in days open, number of inseminations, or pregnancy rate. There's also been a survey of farmers practicing CCC, and they did not perceive fertility to be different to farmers practicing CCC. And there's been a recent pilot study in Norway with 30 cows, and they found delayed ovulation in 7 out of 30 cows, but unfortunately there was no control group in that study. So, which leads us to the aim of this study, and it was to investigate the reproductive performance of cows allowed and not allowed cow-calf contact in an AMS system in a high-yielding dairy herd. So, that again. So for this study, for these 7 batches, as I mentioned before, we have in total 225 cow-calf contact cows and 92 conventional cows, which were separated from their calf within 24 hours after birth. We have registrations of calvings, estrus, milk progesterone from the herd navigator, inseminations, pregnancy diagnosis, body condition score, disease events, and culling. And this, the reproductive performance were evaluated both in the contact lactation, the one that they had contact with the calves, and also the following lactation after, to see if there were any long-term effect on fertility. So now to the results. But first, another question, which you also saw pop up a little bit earlier. I'm also very interested to hear what estrus detection methods you use on your farms. So let's see if there's a, yes, perfect. So please, if you use the visual estrus control, activity sensors, farms might use a bull, or if you have milk progesterone, or like in herd navigator. And you can have several of these, of course, at the same time. Super interesting to see. Oh, thank you. Okay, I don't know if you see this again, but it's 67% said that they are using visual estrus control, which is of course very good and very common. 53% use activity sensors, 20% use a bowl, and 13% use milk progesterone. So thank you very much. Maybe I need to share it for you to see.
It was already shared, Anna, so
Oh,
they should
okay,
have seen
okay.
it. Yeah, no
Okay,
problem.
good, great, thank you. So, but as I said, we have the luxury, as it's a research herd, we have the luxury of having these progesterone curves, and that's the first results I like to share with you. We looked at these progesterone profiles, and we divided them into 4 categories. First, the normal cyclicity, and here you can see that after calving, which just happens as 0 days here, there's a period before the cow starts cycling, and then a few weeks in, she starts cycling, and the progesterone levels rise and fall nicely. And in our study, we found that 52% of the CCC cows and 65% of the conventional cows had these normal cyclicity progesterone profiles. And then we do have 3 atypical, we identified 3 atypical progesterone profile types based on previous literature. The first was a delayed start. So this is when the cow starts cycling later than 56 days after calving. And this was found in 28% of the CCC cows and 4% of the conventional cows. The next profile is prolonged luteal phase, and this is associated with sometimes with poor uterine health, or when the cow starts cycling before the uterus after calving has time to evolve or recover after calving. So the corpus luteum might be stuck. And this was found in 9% of the CCC cows and 20% of the conventional cows. And then the last atypical profile is the interrupted cyclicity. And this is often associated with follicular cyst, which may be associated with high milk production or negative energy balance. This was found in 15% of the CCC cows and 9% of the conventional cows. And I should also say that we focused on 4 main questions that we have that we're most interested in investigating statistically. But we did look at a lot of different fertility measures, but it was only 4 that we choose to statistically. And one of these was the delayed start, because that was what previous literature have found. And we did find that this difference between the CCC and the conventional group was statistically different. And also in accordance to previous results. So the next question we looked at was time to first observed estrus. And here's an estrus calendar, which was what I went through to see when this cow starts cycling. So in the livestock herd, we both have visual estrus control. We also have activity sensors and this progesterone. From this, we found that the time to first estrus was 35 days for the CCC cows and 27 days for the conventional cows. And this was also a statistically significant difference, which is, again, also in accordance to previous literature. So the next question we wanted to look at was the calving to first insemination interval. And here we found that it was 95 days for the CCC and 92 days for the conventional. And this was not a statistically different between the groups. And lastly, we looked at the first service conception rate. And the CCC cows allowed contact. The 30% of them got pregnant on the first insemination, and in the conventional cows it was 31%, and this was not statistically different either. But as I said, we also looked at some other measures, and we found that both groups had similar calving interval, days open until conception, insemination period length between the first and the last insemination. But these were not statistically tested, but they were similar between the groups. And we looked at reproductive disorders that were registered on the farm. And as you can see here, the most commonly reported was anestrus, and it was more commonly reported for the CCC than in the conventional group, which is also in line with our and previous results. The cysts were rather similar, but the endometritis was more commonly reported in the conventional cows than in the CCC cows. And this also is in line with our results on prolonged luteal phase, as I said, that it might be connected with poor uterine health. So this is interesting. And then it was, for the other, it was quite low frequency, so it's hard to say anything about that. But I also said that we looked at the following lactation to see if there were any results in the long term. And we looked at the same parameters as in the first lactations, more or less. And we found that both groups had similar calving to first insemination interval, first service conception rate, days open until conception, insemination period length, and calving interval. So we did not see any huge differences between the groups, but this was not statistically tested, but we found that it's quite nice to at least report it anyway. Which brings me to the conclusions. So our preliminary findings indicate that CCC may delay the onset of cyclicity and the time to first observed estrus. But we found similar interval to first insemination and first service conception rate. And we found no obvious impact on reproductive performance during the following lactation. So to connect to my first questions about the voluntary waiting period in the beginning, this might have practical implications in farms wishing for a short interval. If you want to inseminate very, very quickly, closely to calving, of course, if the onset of cyclicity and first observed estrus is delayed, this might have implications. But in our high-yielding research herd, which have rather long interval to first insemination, at least 50 days, and even longer now, more, 60 days, I think, the last years, these implications are minimal. So with that, I want to thank my co-authors who has been part of this project much longer than I have, Hanna Eriksson, Sofia Nyman, René Båge, and Sigrid Dagernes, very, very much. And of course, the Lövsta staff and the funders, Beijerstiftelsen, Formas, and Seidlitz, for making this project possible. If you're curious about this project, there is a homepage here with a QR code to it. And I want to thank TransformDairyNet for the invitation to talk about this topic. And of course, I want to thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. I see people have discovered the applause function, so that's great. Again, super interesting, very nice to follow Raffaella's presentation as well. For me, it was very interesting to see the results of the lactation as well. So we're doing pretty well on time, so we're just going to jump into the Q&A. And again, if you want to say your question in person, please feel free to raise your hand and we'll call on you as well. But we're going to start with the questions from the chat. And if there's anything you feel you want to add to your question, feel free to speak up as well. So firstly, we have a question from Ragnar. And I think this is during Raffaella's presentation, might be able to apply to both of you. Do you think that breeding programs for animals kept in CCC systems should be different compared to conventional programs?
As I said, probably yes, because there are two different opinions. And so, yes, I think that, as I said, maybe it would be best to set up a breeding value for CCC system, even though, and there were the concern of the other breeding companies, we need data for that. So it's a full system that needs to be recreated. And maybe the idea could be like it was for genomics or for to build up maybe an international platform for this. So to create more data on this concern. Maybe this could be an idea.
Interesting. And Ragnar, I hope that answers your question. Then Isabella, some farmers who implemented CCC have trouble when handling the calves. Does aggression towards humans play a role in breeding programs? So the interaction with the farmers and the breeders there.
In reality, I think it could be breed linked. I don't know. In reality, I don't have an answer. I don't know if Anna, you might have, but I don't think so.
Yeah, Anna, you're muted by the way, but no.
Yeah, no, I don't have much input on that. I'm afraid. So.
Okay. Kind of following on a similar note here from René Borge from SLU as well. So breeding for temperament. Again, this is a bit of a long one, so René, if you want to add after I read it up, please feel free. So breeding for temperament, conflict in conventional breeding between calm, docile, safe cows and more aggressive cows expressing stronger maternal behavior. Staff safety, she's thrown in there as well, and conventional breeding programs do probably not wish to change the temperament trait.
I can say that also within interval there is a trait that is there is the temperament. So there is some countries that do selecting for temperament. We do not do in Italy, for example, but there is a trait that is temperament that is collected. There is already in the conventional program, there is already breeding program for that. Personally, in Italy, we don't do that, but it is done.
Okay. Interesting. So, Rini, I hope that answers your question as well. I think I'm looking at the chat. Does anyone have any more questions? Or Anna or Raffaella, anything you want to add as well?
As I said, I think we need to build up more concern about this, and then I think that the project and all the projects that are coming out will give us more knowledge about how to manage the system in a maybe in a bigger way, a larger to have more concern and to have more knowledge about it.
I think there are two questions here to me. First, there was someone about practical or about grass-based systems that they want, of course, cows to get pregnant. So to keep this 1 year calving interval to match their grazing system. And of course, there's no right or wrong on that. So you need to, of course, adapt it to your farm's needs. So that's really, really important, of course. And then it was also a question about at which age the cows were separated from the cows. And yeah, it was between 3 and 6 months. So it was a little bit different in the different batches. But for the CCC cows, it was between 3 and 6 months.
Yeah, I see we have some more questions coming in the chat, so keep them coming as well. We still have about 10 minutes for any questions. I saw Siobhan asked, what are practical implications for farmers of the result found in the SLU study? And is there anything they should do differently?
I think that might depend on the farm, as I said. So it's, I think it's worth knowing that, estrus might be delayed in the onset of cyclicity, which, but it's, I think, yeah, so that it's good to know that before you start. So but I'm not sure how to, that's how it is in our study, but yeah. And I don't want to know, how it would be in different contact lengths. So we only tried this quite long contact. So yeah, might be interesting.
Okay, thank you. And also Anna there, I saw, so you answered Ghislaine, I think this might be how you pronounce the name, about which age calves are separated from the cows. Did you also answer Anne's questions about selection for longer lactation? I think that was a follow-up from Ghislaine's question, if I'm not misunderstanding.
Yeah, I can take that as it's an extended lactation question, so it also close to heart. And I know there are breeding values for persistency of the lactation curve. So that's, at least in Sweden, there's quite recently. So it is possible, but I'm not sure how strong it is, but there are at least these kind of persistent indexes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Maybe Raffaella knows more.
We also have a persistency index for lactation. So, and in conventional system, there we do select for persistency, for longevity, and all these things. And of course, all the breeding values, they do aim to have better longevity and better fertility. So it's a way how to recalibrate all the system, because data will be collected in a different way. That's how I think.
Okay, thank you both. I'll let Anna follow up, or Anna follow up there if she has any follow-up questions on that. And just so you know, Saba, I see you have your hand up, but first, we just had 2 questions pop in before you put your hand up, so I'm gonna get to those, and then we'll get to you. So we had a question based on behavioral biology and maternal investment. So now we have some technical words here I don't really know how to pronounce. So should aneostress be called a reproductive disorder? I'll let you guys correct me on that later. The cow may naturally tend to conceive later to keep this yearly cycle. Thanks.
Good question. It's usually considered, but that is, of course, it's in a conventional system. Then, if you aim for a short cow interval, then it's seen as a. But if you don't need that, maybe that is not a disorder. But yeah, so that depends on your view, I would say. Perhaps.
Okay, thanks, Chichika. Great question. And then Maria had a question on emotional burden and stress. So, is it less stressful for both the cow and the calf to be separated within 24 hours after birth, or after they spend prolonged time together?
I don't know, but I think if they are maybe separate immediately, they will get less stress if then they are together, and maybe they get separate. I think that's what I think, because if you do not know, you are not stressed, I would say. It's like in human beings, it's the same, I suppose.
Yeah, and I didn't have the same time to get to bond, but yeah, I think at least as the response to the separation is stronger later. But yeah, this is not my topic, so I shouldn't. I think.
Okay, well, interesting to hear your guys' thoughts on it anyways. And then Saba, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question. Saba Amir, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
No, it's perfectly. Hi, hello everyone. My name is Saba. I'm a Nuffield farming scholar from the UK. I visited calf cow contact farms as a part of my in the UK, Europe, US, Canada. As a part of my scholarship, I was visiting CCC farms. And I was very interested in your research. However, my concern is, and maybe I've understood the results, misunderstood the results, so correct me if I'm wrong, but some of your results tend to suggest that CCC farms or CCC systems are not, they're disadvantaged compared to the conventional systems in terms of the anestress and a couple of other things that you mentioned there, sorry. My question, if these are like negative outcomes of CCC systems, then how are we actually going to convince farmers to adopt this? It's going to be very hard to convince farmers to, for more farms to be able to get into CCC.
I'm not sure if. I think that it depends on the farms, on the setup on the farm. In a high-yielding farm, like in our research, yes, they did show estrus later, but in time when we were going to inseminate them, there was no difference in that So it was not practical implications for our farm, and they got pregnant at the same rate. So for us, but in a farm, if you really want a short, if you want the really timely, then perhaps. But of course, our herd was it was high yielding, so perhaps it's not as pronounced in a. So we can only say from our small herd and our number of cows. So this is one study. So I think, yeah, you need to look at the conditions on the individual farm. It's hard to give an overall advice, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Saba. Great question and great discussions. So we have 3 more questions in the chat. I'm gonna go over those, and then quickly we have some slides about some upcoming webinars for TDN as well. So Julie, how useful would it be to use a bull who has had a vasectomy to regulate the cow's hormones?
It has been, I know of studies that they use a teaser bull to see when the cows are in estrus. It's as some kind of to find cows. So that's definitely, I know that it has been used. I'm not sure how common it is in Europe today. I don't think it's very common in Sweden, what I know of, but it is possible. I know it's been discussed. But yeah, I don't know how much it's used today, actually, but possibly.
Raffaella, anything from the Italian perspective on that you know of?
No, what I know that for our female fertility index, we had developed also an algorithm that can estimate if farmers are using synchronization or not. And that we take into account in our model so that we correct for this effect. But for others, I don't know in reality.
Okay, thank you both. Then Michael, if breeding for longer lactation, the cow is a higher production indoor system cow, shouldn't we be breeding for a less intensive system?
Oh, that's up to, well,
Yeah.
As I said, it's part already of the presentation. You might be right, but then it's the entire system is organized, and the farmers do invest a lot, so they want a return, and then so they also select for longer for longevity for healthy cows. So it's a farmer decision, I have to say, as well. So they can decide what they want to pull out from the farms.
Yeah, and in our extended lactation studies, I mean, it depends on what your output is. If it's meat, of course, it's going to be less because it's going to be, if you have a longer period between the calvings, you will have fewer calves. And yeah, so probably less meat production. But at least in our study of primiparous cows, we did not see any, it was the same milk yield per day during 2 calving intervals. But yeah, so it depends on what you see as intensive, I would guess.
I agree that depends on the output. That's important.
Okay, interesting. Thank you both. And then just a quick last question from Francesca here. What about weaning in CCC systems? So when is it done? I know you both sort of covered this, but maybe a little bit of a repeat.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to read at the same time. Sorry, but
You're fine.
can you repeat? Sorry.
Yeah, weaning. So when is weaning done in CCC systems?
It's widely variable. From the survey study that was done before, I know that the practice of CCC, it's made in so many different ways in Europe. You can have foster cows, you can have, and maybe I didn't say that clearly, but in our study we had the dam rearing, so the dams they had their own calves. But it might be foster cows, it might be restricted suckling, so the calves only get to suckle like decent to milking. It's very short period of contact to very long. So I think it's done in various ways.
I agree. It depends on the farmer and on the CCC system that choose to take, and what is best return on this as well.
Exactly. Thank you both. Okay, any more questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat and we'll see if we can answer them over email later. We will save the chat. And I hope you can all see my screen now, right? Okay, so yeah, thank you both, Raffaella and Anna, for your questions or answering the questions today, and the audience for your questions. I'm just going to quickly mention the 2 upcoming TDN webinars as well. The next one will be on the 1st of December. I saw the chats or the links have been shared in the chat as well, so you can register there, which will be all about calf play in CCC systems. And for this one, it will be a little bit more interactive than usual because we are collecting videos from the public of calves playing in any sort of context as well. So if you work with calves in any sort of context, or you have colleagues or family or friends that might be, they can submit a video. And they can be submitted with credits or anonymously as well. And the link again is in the chat. Up to a minute, and we'll be using those during the next webinar to talk about calf play in CCC systems. And one very important note here, the form is closing today, so please submit it by midnight. If you feel very strongly that you have a video you want to submit, but you won't be able to until maybe tomorrow, feel free to send us an email as well, and we can sort that out. And then on the 11th of December, we have a live stream TDN seminar. So this will be live streamed from SLU, the Swedish Agricultural University, on calf-cow contact on different continents. It will be covering lessons learned from different continents. We have Europe, North America, and South America. So it's going to be going outside of Europe as well, which will be very interesting. And if you are in Uppsala or Stockholm or in the area, you can go see it in person. Again, the registration is in the chat, or see it online. It's the same link on the SLU website. And that's it for today. Again, very big thank you to Raffaella and Anna and the audience as well. Very good discussions today. The recording will be shared with you afterwards as well if you want to go back to it. Please feel free to follow TDN on our social medias. And the newsletter, the link will be in the chat as well to sign up. And then you will get news about the upcoming webinars and the ones coming next year as well. So thank you all very much.